Hi, this is Brooks with Character Design Forge, and this video is about focus. Now, last week I spent an entire day doing nothing. And you might think, well, that sounds kind of nice, right? Like a vacation or a day off. But this wasn't intentional on my part. And I should clarify that it wasn't so much that I didn't do anything, it's that my actions and activities resulted in nothing productive. And it wasn't nice at all. It was actually kind of terrible. This isn't the first time that this has happened, unfortunately. I tend to pride myself in being able to work hard and for long stretches of time, and this wasn't so much a problem of being tired or burnt out. This was completely about a lack of focus. Now, I tried during this day last week to make a new video for this channel, among other things, and I was incorporating some new things that I haven't done before, and I was excited about it, but after about 4 or 5 hours, it just wasn't happening, and that's why there kind of wasn't a stretch of videos for a while last week. And the thing is that it wasn't that this video was the only thing on my mind. It wasn't even the only thing on my mind when it comes to work and art. Now, there is a very good chance that you have more than one responsibility. And there's also a very good chance that there's more than one thing or more than one project that you'd like to be working on. And every mind is going to be a little bit different, but I want to talk about some things that can help you to gain focus. And while there isn't much drawing happening in this video, I feel like focus is such an underappreciated aspect of any artist's tool set. So these are some things that I really feel are vital for you to consider. I have to give credit to my wife, Tay, for helping me out for a lot of this. I was very lost in deep, unfocused territory, especially on this day, and she helped me to kind of bring things back into a good place. To me, I don't know if this is the best way to describe it or if it's something you can relate to, but my lack of focus was a little bit like a flickering light bulb where I was able to focus for just a little bit and then it was completely gone, no matter how hard I tried to concentrate, and it was a little bit like drowning in my own head. Very unpleasant thing to go through. Wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. Do I have enemies? I don't have enemies. For me, what I realized was I was getting into this really vicious cycle where there were too many things that I was committing energy to. And it was almost like I was committing just enough energy to come up short in each of these things. And naturally, that just makes things worse. A good friend of mine actually just said this yesterday, that life is not about this and that. It's about this or that, meaning that you're going to have an amount of trade-off. So the first thing that you might want to do is narrow the scope of things that you're trying to commit to. Maybe just prioritize and figure out you're not going to be able to get to certain things right now, but if you put them off into the future, you can commit a ton more to these things right now and to those things once these things are done. What my wife had me do was break everything that I was thinking about down into categories. So things like art projects, personal projects, and work projects. And then from there, breaking things down into categories again, more and more until each thing was almost its own line item or task even. And so this was helping me to, instead of think about everything at once and simultaneously nothing at once, haphazardly, this was like putting blinders on and looking and focusing on one task at a time. Focus is not something that you can activate or turn on and off. Focus is actually more like the reward that you get for being disciplined. Now for me, and perhaps for you, what this means is cutting back drastically on consuming things and getting notifications. This can seem obvious, of course, but what these things do is put us on the back foot. So we're now reactive instead of proactive. Plus, these things can be distracting if you hear a notification as soon as you get it and break the concentration you might have. Now, this might start out with good intentions. Say you're looking for some inspiration for art and you go searching for it. Now, even if you don't get distracted at that point, you're still consuming content and you've become reactive in that case. So for me, on this day that I lost to unproductivity, I did this way too many times. I was looking for the answers to some creative problems instead of stopping and just focusing on solving them myself. After Tay had me list everything out, she helped me establish a new system for getting work done. And the point of it was clear, is that you can't be thinking about 8 different things and projects, especially when you're trying to focus. You can only focus on one thing at a time in these blocks of time that we mapped out. So the system involves writing down blocks of time and scheduling your time for a morning or a day on an index card. And I'll actually get to why specifically on an index card in a minute. So these blocks of time are completely non-negotiable. So it's blocks of maybe 2 or 3 hours at a time, depending on what the task is. And then I'll add a 5 or 10 minute break in order to look at notifications or read messages, respond to things. And then also along with those breaks, I'm adding in something physical along with my regular work. So these are things like chores or a workout, something that really just changes up what you're doing and refreshes you before you get to the next thing. And finally, this is one of the most important things to me. Before certain blocks, I will take at least 5 minutes to dump out the contents of my brain into a text document. And what this does is completely frees you up from all of the things that are kind of floating around in your head. For me, I realized that I get things just caught, and it makes it hard to either focus or commit energy to something new. The first night that I did this, I spent at least a half hour, something like over 1,200 words, just writing everything that was in my head, not necessarily things that were bothering me or distressing me. I tend to think of myself as a pretty happy person, and a lot of these things were just things I was grateful for, or good experiences with friends and family and stuff like that. But after I was able to get all of this out, you feel so much more focused and cleansed and ready to focus on just one thing at a time. Now back to the reason for the index cards. This is something that is especially helpful for me personally because I'm a very results-based person. I like having final products and accomplishments. That's kind of how I value how my time has been spent. And so if I haven't gotten something done maybe a few weeks down the line, if I've collected these index cards and showed, like I've checked things off and showed the things that I've accomplished in a given day, it can be helpful to be like, no, you're actually able to accomplish things. Look at what you've done before. Maybe you're just in a rut today. Another thing that we don't like to hear too much is to take a break, especially when we're trying to get focused and trying to get things done. And this doesn't just mean a break for an hour or so. This could be even for a week or two. And the key is not to be frustrated that you aren't getting things done. Just embrace the break in order to get back up to speed. Now the following day, the first block of time that I had mapped out in this new system of getting things done after that day of unproductivity, I was planning on using this block of time in order to rig this character, this 3D model, in order to animate him. And I was trying a new style of rigging that seemed a little daunting to me, which is probably why I was procrastinating a little bit in the first place. But within this 2 hours, I ended up having him completely rigged, the legs, the body, the pupil of the eye being able to move around with its own control. And I still had 45 minutes left over in that block. And so I ended up making a simple little walk cycle for the character. And I was just like completely over the moon. Like the contrast between the day before and this just 2 hours is so huge. And I was able to get so much done, and I was really proud of that. So if you unfortunately suffer from some of the same obstacles that I do, again, like I said, you know, every mind is different. But if any of this is able to help you, I'm really happy about that too. That is it for me today. I'm making new videos every week at Character Design Forge. Subscribing on YouTube lets you know when new videos are made available. I am a freelance character designer as well as illustrator and 3D modeler, so if you have any contract or commission work that you'd like to work with me on, head over to brooksegleston.com/contact. If this or any of my videos have been helpful, educational, or entertaining for you, please consider backing me at patreon.com/bageldenizen. My course, Learn Character Design, is a comprehensive character design curriculum. Head over to learncharacterdesign.com to find out more. My addendum course to that, called Designing Game Characters, will be coming soon. Existing and future Learn Character Design students will be receiving it absolutely for free. It'll also be available standalone as well. Thank you so much for watching, and have fun creating.